Hello, Star Wars and Unboxing fans. Welcome to another episode of Darth Tuba's Star Wars Unboxing Show. I'm your host, Darth Tuba. Okay, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, one thing I'm going to start doing is some unboxings of some Disney Star Wars crossover character merchandise. Okay, we've already done this a little bit with the Cars Disney crossover characters. Okay, but even before Cars had their crossover, the Disney characters had theirs. So what I'm going to actually do is, from time to time, bring out each series, okay, of figures that have come out, and we're going to begin with, I think, is the latest series, and that is, or maybe not the latest. There could be other ones, but one of the series. This is Series 5, okay, and this was released in 2011, so it's going back a few years. But you got to remember that the Disney acquisition was 2012, right? And since then, we've had The Force Awakens, we've had, in 2015, we've had Rogue One, we've had The Last Jedi, so obviously the shifting has changed. They no longer have Star Wars weekends, and that has been replaced by almost Star Wars daily events going on there. And in fact, right now, as the park is kind of in limbo, this is Disney's Hollywood Studios in Orlando, Florida, there is not much that goes on that's not Star Wars related in that park, but it's mostly, besides the Star Tours attraction, it's mostly the Star Wars Galactic Nights fireworks. There's the Captain Phasma March through the March of the First Order. There's a Galactic, there's Star Wars Galaxy, basically a character introduction. There's a Path of the Jedi movie. There's the Launch Bay. So there's a lot of Star Wars content going on in the park right now. But most of it's a placeholder for Galaxy's Edge, which is the big, huge expansion that's coming in 2019. So it's pretty cool. It's definitely getting up there. You can see in the parks. But this is both in Disney World in Florida, but also Disneyland in California. They're building basically the same exact park expansion in both areas, and they're both coming together really well. I do believe Disneyland is going to be done first, and then the Disney World Hollywood Studios expansion will be done shortly thereafter. So I'm very excited about that. But at a time when there was not as much going on, you got to remember, in 2011, let's think about this. What do we have? Well, the last movie we had was Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, which came out in 2005. There was a brief movie release of the Clone Wars before it started on the Cartoon Network. They released like on a 4-episode movie in 2008, I believe. So even that had been a few years. So there wasn't much in the area of Star Wars newness other than the Clone Wars, which is great, and I'm a big fan of the Clone Wars. But it was nice to see the Disney kind of having fun with it, with these crossover characters. And I hold this, and I'll say this now, I hold Disney responsible for keeping the Star Wars mythos franchise alive in those, what we call the dark times. Now, kids, what are the dark times? Anybody here who's much younger than me may not know this, but there was a time, believe it or not, where Star Wars was not a thing, meaning it had happened, it had come, and it had been popular, then it had waned, and there was nothing left. There was nothing out there. There was no product available. There was nothing in the stores. There was nothing going on TV or movies or anywhere. There was no internet to help fuel any interest in it. And so anything that was happening, if anybody was talking about it or anything, was only happening locally. There might have been occasional articles printed in Starlog magazine, which is pretty much the only sci-fi magazine out that you could, find information about it. There was nothing, save for one place, or I should say two places, and that is Disneyland, California, and Walt Disney World Hollywood Studios in now Hollywood Studios in Florida. There we had Star Tours, which is the attraction that Disney created with George Lucas. They remember, Disney did not own Lucasfilm at this point. They were just good business partners, and they created this wonderful ride and wonderful little mini universe within the parks. And there they also had a gift shop, which had very unique merchandise specific to Star Wars, and Disney. Nothing, stuff you couldn't really get anywhere else because there wasn't anything available anywhere else. So from I would say 1987 through 1991, those 4 years, the only place that there was anything going on with Star Wars would have been in the Disney parks. And for that, I hold Disney responsible, and I say, Disney, thank you for holding the torch and keeping it happen. Yes, and many people might argue, well, they're doing it too much, they're oversaturating now, Yeah, I get, I understand that opinion. I disagree with it, but I understand it. But I'm just saying that from a historical perspective, they were the ones holding the torch when no one else really cared. And that's why I think it's really cool. So that's a little bit of Disney history for you. And the reason I say 1991 is because that's when Heir of the Empire came out by Timothy Zahn, and there was a resurgence of interest. Hasbro came back in the fold in 1994 with the re-release of well, not re-release, but the recreation of the original trilogy toys. And then it just kind of exploded from there with the special editions and the prequels. I think there was one company running the Bendham's thing, if you recall those Bendham figures. In the early 90s as well. So that was it. That was all we had. Anyway, so I digress. What do we have here? So these are what they call crossover. I call them crossover characters. Okay? We have, and again, these are a little more, since these are among the latest ones that they did, they were stretching for different kinds. They had already released a bunch of ones that were the more familiar ones. So now they were getting into some weird ones. So we have Daisy Duck as Aura Singh. And Aura Singh, for those who might not be initiated, Aura Singh was a bounty hunter from episode 1. She had literally maybe a second or a second and a half, 2 seconds of screen time, where during the pod race, she was a bounty hunter looking off from a ledge, and you could see the ships go fly by, and you see her look. That was it. That was the only place you saw her in the movie canon. But then you did see her. They came out with a little more for her to do in the Clone Wars. So she was in the Clone Wars thing. So a lot of these, in fact, just about all of these characters are from the Clone Wars. You also have Donald Duck as Commander Cody. Okay, Commander Cody, which is one of the clones that is with. I guess he's with Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's kind of Obi-Wan's clone. You have, all right, this is probably, I would say this is the only original trilogy one. You have Huey, Dewey, and Louie as Jawas, which I think makes perfect sense. You have Goofy as Cad Bane. Now, Cad Bane, for those that don't know, was also an exclusive character to the Clone Wars cartoon series, and he was a bounty hunter and a very cool kind of Western-like character. I believe he was a Duros alien, which is a specific type of alien. And he had a real kind of interesting way about him, and a lot of kids enjoyed dressing up like him for Halloween and that type of thing. So Goofy dressed as Cad Bane. He was also very tall, so that made sense. And then lastly, we have Stitch as General Grievous. Now, this household, there is a big love of Stitch. Okay? I think part of it has to do with the fact that Stitch, when the Stitch movie came out, the movie really resonated with our daughter, who was very young at the time, maybe 6 or 7 years old at that point. And I don't know, there was just the way Stitch acted and the way Lilo acted was kind of a similar way I think our daughter related to that character. And it was also about a whole thing about Ohana, meaning family, no one get left behind or forgotten, and Stitch was adopted, which means that, and our daughter is adopted as well, so I think she just took some ownership to that. And to this day has a great affinity and love for Stitch. She's now, 22, and a full-fledged adult, but she still has an attachment to Stitch. So obviously, Stitch dressed as General Grievous, Stitch dressed as any Star Wars character is a favorite in this house. All right, so let us begin, and we'll kind of start back where we started over here with Daisy Duck as Aura Singh. Now, the packaging does take a little throwback to the original trilogy packaging with the racing stripe, although it is, its own thing. It's its own thing. It's a gold stripe. It's got it's more centered, okay, that type of thing. And these figures, they are articulated slightly, but for the most part, it's good to just pose them. One thing I'm not aware of, and I'm sure you could look, if you look out there in the world, you can find more information about this. I am not 100% aware if it says, on the box, it pretty much says Disney theme park merchandise. It doesn't say Hasbro. It doesn't say, any other toy companies. I'm just giving you a heads up. These things have a little bit of a challenge coming out because they are... Okay, there we go. They have those rubber band things. Okay. All right, now, I will say this. I do have to say I have one slight complaint about Daisy. I'll see, but I'll hold it. I'll hold it until I know for sure. Well, that one's okay. Their hand grip is not 100%, but it looks as though she's able to hold the gun. Oh, I spoke too soon, and I just lost one. Oh, all right, I'll get it in a little bit. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this gun's easy because you can just run it through her arms, and then it's on her back. So that's good. I'm going to get back here. All right. Now, as far as this gun, I would say that, with little to no motion, the guns will stay. Otherwise, they will stay on. So they will have an issue. So, yeah, both of them fell off. So that's a strike against them. Okay. They do have these like very, very strong rubber bandy kind of things that I know some people like to kind of take them and essentially rubber band the gun to the hand, which I'm okay with. I think that's perfectly fine. All right. The problem is, though, that it's not that easy to do. So I'll try to do that before I do the photos. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pose Daisy here. How you doing, Daisy? And I'll leave the guns there, and I'm also going to leave the rubber band. One, and then I think there were two. See, he doesn't even want to come out, the rubber band. And that one didn't work. Yeah, so, unfortunate. You can't even get all the rubber bands in there. So, seem to have like a... Oh, that's one. I'll try... Oh, did that one break too? Yeah, they broke too. So, you can do that with regular rubber bands. I mean, if you want to be a little more... permanent, you can use a hot glue gun or something like that. I'll probably end up putting them in a casing, and using that and storing them that way because they all come with a few little things. All right, let's move on. Donald Duck as Commando Cody. Now, I think the greatest thing about Donald Duck as Commando Cody isn't Donald Duck as Commando Cody, but is that, for those who know, if you recall, again, if you haven't seen the movies, why are you watching this channel? Spoiler alert. Commando Cody is the clone trooper that during... when they're on, I believe it is Utapau, with Obi-Wan Kenobi, Obi-Wan is fighting General Grievous, drops his lightsaber. It lands near where Cody's fighting, several levels down. He picks it up, and then he hands it to Obi-Wan. You forgot, you'll be needing this. And Obi-Wan says, thank you, old friend, and starts to gallop off in his little bird, horse-like creature. And then Cody right then gets a message from Palpatine, Emperor, or I guess at that point is going to crown himself Emperor Palpatine, and says, execute Order 66. So he has a little hologram on his hand. And then he just, okay, Obi-Wan is no longer my friend. He's now a traitor to the Republic. Kill him. And they attempt to do so. Well, in this little toy, you have little Emperor Stitch. There is another figure, which we haven't opened, and we'll do it in another episode, where little Stitch, he's the Emperor. So cute. There are, by the way, definitely some doubles. Okay, these characters all play in the pretend Star Wars world. These characters all play multiple roles, and that's okay, right? I mean, why shouldn't they? All right, and there's his blaster. Now this is interesting. Comes with a helmet. Oh, I see. His helmet. Rather than just rest on his head, I think that'd be kind of a challenge because his head is kind of, he's a Disney cartoon. His head kind of squashes and stretches. So, oh my goodness, these things are crazy trying to get them out. Come on there, buddy. Come on. All right. So, rather than put the helmet on his head, you can actually kind of put the helmet on from the back and the front, almost like a clamshell kind of thing. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to try to do that now. There you go. So there's his helmet. I'm going to leave Donald with his helmet on, just because that'd be the kind of thing that he would be annoyed at. And then, again, you have his weapon. Let's see if his holding gun is any better. I mean, it's like they have a good start, but then it doesn't end anything. I guess you can just rest stitch there. But again, it's a little bit of a challenge. So, oh no. Yeah, so there you go. If you hear the snap, that generally means it's okay. As I said, I'll leave Stitch on the ground there. I'm going to try to do that with rubber bands. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm going to certainly try. It's the kind of thing where it's worth making an attempt, is what I'm saying. All right, does he have any more? No, he has no more. So I might try it with mine. I might try it with theirs, with the Disney version. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's do some original trilogy here. Huey, Dewey, and Louie as the Jawas. It includes a part of I guess it's an R5-D4 head and a part of a limb. Not meant to be a piece that you would put together. It's just something that they have. So that's funny. Now, the only thing is I don't know who's who, so forgive me. I don't know who's Huey, I don't know who's Dewey, and I don't know who's Louie. They don't. Sometimes I think you can tell. I guess you can tell by the color of their sashes. One is green, one is red, and one is blue. So, now, I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I love Disney, but I am no way like the same level of Disney fan as I am Star Wars fan. At least not in the sense that I can name for you all of the characters simply by their color of their sash. So sorry about that. Can't do that. Now it looks like and this is interesting. They don't look, the gun that the little gun that they use doesn't look like it's able to be held like a regular gun. I mean, only it has to be held almost by the stock, which is kind of weird, but we'll keep it like that anyway. They have really no feet; they just have flat bottoms. I'll try to get some close-ups. I've been starting to insert them into the video rather than putting them at the end. I'll try to do that. I will try to continue to do that. Moving on, we have Goofy. Goofy as Cad Bane. Oh, one last thing about the Huey, Dewey, and Louie. I said that they don't have any bases. So everybody's legs and arms move. The only exception is Huey, Dewey, and Louie. They have no legs. It's just a base. And but their heads spin, I think. Yep, their heads spin and their arms and wrists move. So they've got some pretty decent articulation. Okay, so that's pretty good. The first disappointment would have been Huey, Dewey, and Louie just not having legs. But again, there comes a point where do you really need them, because they're all in their Jawa robes. All right, we got Goofy. Now the big question I have is the hat, and it is in fact a separate entity. Okay, we got. Whoops. Now this would happen to Goofy. Goofy's arm just came off, so that is a problem. But not as much of a problem as you might think. Goofy's head, on the other hand, his head looks like he's rubber band in to the point where you cannot get the rubber band out. Oh, I stand corrected. There you go. I think some of these rubber bands actually are doing double duty here. Like they're tied up in the back too. So that's why I'm glad I've managed to save most of them here. Okay, we got to do a little repair here on Goofy. All right, first of all, Goofy, can I pull your head off? I can pull. It's easier to pull his head off. He's got basic ball-bearing assembly, which in some ways is really nice because you can very easily manipulate him. And then looks like even his head has got a little ball bearing on it, so the hat kind of stays on. Let's see how he does with his weapons. He looks like he might. Oh, he looks like he's having better luck with his weapons than he is with his hat. Come on, dude. Keep the hat on, will you? Okay, let's put him here. Yeah, will he stand? Okay, looks like I'm going to have to do a little bending forward here. His feet do not have the same level of articulation as Donald and Daisy do, but he's standing, so he's doing all right. Cool. Okay, one last one. This episode's been running a little bit long, so we'll wrap it up here with Stitch. I like how Stitch comes with. He has It looks like he has 4 arms, but he has an extra pair of arms. Oh yeah. Oh, duh. That's right, because Stitch has 6 arms. Or does Stitch have 6 arms? Wait a minute. Does he have 6 arms? I'll have to look here. Hold on. Whoa. Well, Stitch came out pretty quickly. His lightsabers are a little iffy. Now, what I'm trying to decide... Oh, I know what this is. Okay. So, Stitch has the option. Stitch has the option of having 4 arms or 2. Because, well, think of it this way. Number 1, Darth. General Grievous had most of the time had 2 arms, but when he fought Obi-Wan on Utapau, he broke it into 4 arms. Okay, that's one thing. But Stitch also was very clever on the part of the designers. Stitch also originally had 4 arms. 2 legs and 4 sets of arms, or maybe 6 sets of paws or whatever. And when he was trying to disguise himself as a dog, he kind of hid 2 of them, so he had just 2 arms and 2 legs. So I'm going to leave them with the 4 because General Grievous looks really cool with the. He looks really cool with the 4 lightsabers. So overall, guys, really, really fun. Okay, really fun playset characters. I'm sorry that Disney's no longer doing this. It would have been fun to see the Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, Donald, Chip and Dale, Huey, Dewey, Louie, and all the main characters. It would have been fun to see them dressed as Force Awakens characters or Last Jedi characters. But I do understand, for those who aren't aware, ever since Disney did purchase Lucasfilm, it's funny. Before they purchased Lucasfilm, Disney had a partnership with Lucasfilm, and with that partnership, there was a lot of character dress up and character crossover. You could see Jedi Mickey, you could see Goofy as Darth Goofy, but he had heart shorts, heart underwear on, so he wasn't so threatening. You had all these different things. You had Stormtrooper Donald, Princess Leia Minnie, and it was fun. And I never really as a fan, I never really got offended at it. I always figured it was just the Disney characters wanting to get in on the cosplay, and that's what they did. They had other things, like there was this thing called I forget the name of the characters, but they had it was like a Lollapalooza or a Dance-a-Palooza or Hoopla. It was basically a dance-off with the Star Wars stars. And it was very silly. And it was, they had really good dancers dressed in Star Wars costumes doing everything from hip-hop to swing to whatever. And it was cute and it was fun. And some people really hated it because they didn't like seeing the characters acting so silly. I get that. I do. And apparently Disney did too, because ever since the buyout, Disney stopped doing that, and now you see the characters as themselves, as the character. So, what are your thoughts on that? Leave comments. I mean, do you prefer it one way? Do you prefer it the other way? I personally don't care either way. I mean, I was just happy to see the characters. I had less interest in watching them live dressed up like those characters, especially if they were not acting, or if the characters looked like their movie counterparts, but they didn't act like it. I had less interest in that. Didn't dislike it. I just didn't love it. But I liked the characters. I thought the toys dressed up as a collector. I was always enjoying this. I always thought this was a nice little extra, a little side collecting thing. Plus, it was always very simple. It was like 4, 5, 6 basic ones every year or every other year. Easy to collect. They made them in mass quantity, so there was no issue. I would go to there. I would actually buy them there in the Star Tours gift shop, and then I would ship them home, so I didn't even have to take them with me. It was a nice thing. It was a nice part of the collecting process. So I miss it. I hope that they, maybe find a way to go back to that. But what are your thoughts? Let me know in your comments. And that'll do it for this episode of Darth Tuba Star Wars Unboxing Show. Again, be sure to like, subscribe, share, let people know about my channel, leave comments below, email me, darthtuba77@gmail.com if you have anything specific you want me to work on or try. I have other Disney ones that I will be unboxing soon. It's going to kind of float between them and new items. Check me out on Instagram and Twitter at DarthTuba, Darth Tuba Star Wars Unboxing page on Facebook. And again, leave comments and like, subscribe, and share. Okay, so thank you so much, and may the Force be with you.